this past year, we established an elections committee. And this year I've been asked and fortunate enough to be able to chair the elections committee. Yes, fortunate enough to be able to do that. So the same thing's going to happen. There's a separation between the nomination process, and then once all the nominations have been made, the slate has been announced, everything will transition over to the elections committee, where they will handle, all of that stuff. Used to, there was kind of an unclear line. That's one of the reasons why I'm in this room today, to explain how important and vital your role is, and then how we're going to make that smooth transition from your hands to our hands. So next to Deb is Charmaine. So you want to take a moment, introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning.
Because Deb doesn't know everyone.
Charmaine Posto, nice to meet you, Deb. Everybody else, I think everyone knows me. I am the Palm Beach County Council PTA president. I've served on membership. I was the membership chair. Previous to that, I've been a local PTA president, and I'm just here to be a servant to the children, advocating for the children. And also, I just want to point that I have a stress relief fund here, and so anyone that is stressful in this room, you will actually get this piggy bank, because we're having a stress-free weekend and we're going to learn a lot.
So I get to keep the piggy bank?
No, you got to put money in.
And that money goes to wine?
That-
Is it the beer budget? Okay, gotcha. Wine,
I
beer
got
budget.
Stress-free cure.
Okay. So next,
I'm the stall lady. She knows me from last night.
Right.
I talked to her in the stall thinking it was Karen. And then she came out of the stall in the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God. I was talking to the wrong
Maxine
person.
says, oh my God.
Maxine's the breath of fresh air.
I was in there talking to Karen, and it wasn't Karen, it was Deb Walsh. I said, well, I hope you didn't say anything about Deb Walsh. Because,
I just thought Belle say, I don't know anything about what you're doing.
That's so funny.
Hey, seriously, we have very, very soft boundaries. Let's just say that.
Soft.
Yeah. Soft or none.
There you go. I'm Joe Pecora. I'm currently the Region 2 representative of Florida PTA. I service Leon County through Wakulla County and Bay County. I am a past Florida PTA secretary, first male in 91 years. Yes, I'd like to use that
Please do. Every
time.
time. Every time. I'm surprised it's not tattooed at this point.
That's next.
I
Don't
know.
worry, it's
Okay,
coming.
okay.
It's going with mom. It's
Oh.
right next to her. And currently, this is my second time on the nominating committee. I sat on it once before in 2012, 2014. So this will be a great experience to give the knowledge I had before and the knowledge that we did in the past, and hopefully keep some things the same and change it for the better.
Thank you, Joe.
I am Katrina McMahon. I am the region rep for Region 5. Don't ask me for all my counties, because
You have a lot more than I do.
I have a whole lot more than he does. But 3 of them have county councils, so I just assist those county councils if needed.
I have none.
I am also the immediate past Florida PTA treasurer, and this is my first time on nominating committee.
Wow, good.
Tony Nielsen, Polk County, the Exceptional Child Chair.
First time? Oh, you're an
I've been
alternate.
on the committee
You're an alternate,
for years.
right?
What?
Are you an,
The chair, alternate on the nominating
nom,
committee.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And how many of you are alternates? Yeah, we invited everyone, and a couple of them are not able to attend this weekend, and a couple are still on the way, so,
Missing 4.
yeah. And you all know who I am. I'm Sandy Traeger.
No. I'm going to correct that, because I've already stated that this weekend, y'all might as well just get ready, because I'm embodying Sandy Traeger, because
Cool.
what y'all going to do? Fire me?
I've been trying.
Yeah, sorry,
right.
once again.
My name is Polly DeLucia. I'm the county council president for Seminole County, and I am the last alternate. But
Somebody's gotta hold the rest of them
I am
up.
I am at the bottom of the list, and I just want to say that like the nominating committee process and all that is like so important to the development of new PTA leadership. So hopefully, today or tomorrow, the picture on SEC PTA's Facebook is the lady standee over watching the nominating committee training for Seminole County Council. So, so it's just really important that the committee
Get it
find
right.
new leadership
Get it
and
right.
get the best.
Okay.
Tracy Strecker. I'm the Orange County Council PTA president, and this is my first time on the nominating committee.
Naomi Frierson. I'm the membership chair this year. Previously was on family and community engagement for 4 years. And I have never been a county council president, so I stand
You guys don't know what you're missing.
suckers.
So here's how I want the training to go. And if you want to, I know you're going to not be in here the whole time, but keep me on track with time and make sure that we get everything in that we need to. Deb created this PowerPoint that is a phenomenal PowerPoint. It can be used at the local and the county and at the state level. So this is a good detailed information for those of you that may not have ever served on a nominating committee before. And I'm going to let Deb take us through that. She's the maker of it. She knows it better than anybody else. And then once we've gone through that, we'll field some questions if you have. And then I'm going to take the next step, which is to tell you what your process should be looking like, what you should have done up to this point, and if you have not, how we're going to expedite that. And then from this point on, how you're going to do your letter of intents, your search, and just really honing those metrics that we should use as we make the most important decision for this association for the next 4 years, right? So, Deb, take it away.
That's a question for you. How important is this to identify new leaders, to hold transparent and well-run elections, and to transition smoothly from leadership to leadership? Is that important for a state PTA? Is that important for any PTA?
Absolutely.
For credibility purposes, if anything else. Okay. The committees that do nominations and elections are really charged with the future of the association. You're charged to identify the best leaders. You're charged to figure out how you ensure the future viability of the association. When the work you do needs to demonstrate you know what you're doing. Botched up elections, botched up nominations destroys credibility. It just absolutely destroys credibility. It destroys the credibility of the people who are elected, no matter how good they are and how well intentioned they are. It destroys credibility of your association, especially among other associations, statewide associations, partners, professionals, and even potential sponsors.
Absolutely. Deb, I'm going to ask a question real quick. How many of you, and you can raise your hand if you'd like to, or you can just kind of raise your finger, but if you've been engaged in Florida PTA for any number of years, I'm going to say at least the last 6 to 8 years, how many of you in this room have ever seen the slate of officers that was brought forth by a nominating committee and maybe 1 or 2 candidates you went, huh? Who's that? I don't get it. I don't understand. Oh God. What? Right? I'm going to raise my hand high because when I saw my name, I was like, y'all crazy? No, but seriously, we have all been in that position where we look at the work product of a nominating committee and we question it because we think we know from our position where we've been serving through reputation, through gossip, through work product, we think we know what's best. But we have questioned the nominating committee in our mind and sometimes on the phone or whatever. You now sit in that chair. So remember, when she says builds credibility and demonstrates your professionalism, all of these pieces and elements that she's going to be talking about, no matter what a great job you think you're going to do and you feel that you've done, people are going to question you. So let's go ahead and shed that sensitivity that you wore in here and let's get hard because you got some hard work to do. So sorry, Deb, for interjecting it.
I also contend that if you do your job really well, you're going to build membership and you're going to build leadership. Because people want to join successful organizations. People want to be part of. People want to lead successful organizations. If you run yourself well, if you do your work well, people are going to say, gee, that looks good. Opposite happens too frequently out in the field. Elections are a mess. I bet you all been called into elections at a mess level at a local.
Tis the season coming up.
It's coming up. And it's then who the heck do you get to lead your association? Because who's going to step forward to lead? You really want this to be as smooth and as open and as transparent and as effective a process as possible. Because if not, and I do love this sign, because way too often this is what it looks like, especially at a local level. I hate when it happens at a state level, but it does look like this at a state level. On
Absolutely.
occasion.
Bewildered.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not quite sure which way it goes, the people who have been part of this process at a local level wind up rising into a council or a region or a district level and eventually join your state association and sometimes bring with them not the best habits. So I created this PowerPoint for Rhode Island PTA to help them drive down the message, to try to get their local units more aware of what to do so they would have a better group of individuals rising up in their association. Because if this is what happens, if you've got a total mess, and this is what it looks like when you get down to, and your community sees this when they are seeing the committee at work, then man, they are all just heading out the door.
That's right. They don't want to buy in.
It really comes down to that. You think about your credibility to a principal at the local level. Think about your credibility to superintendents at a council or a district level. If you look like you're a mess, does anybody want to take you seriously? No. So let's talk about nominations. Good nominating committees are tactful and prudent and deliberate. And what's the word deliberate mean? Anybody want to give me the definition of deliberate?
Purposeful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They keep their mouths shut. I didn't say that, but tight-lipped, because
Confidential.
what gets said in the nominating committee, I actually sat on the National PTA I'm a former volunteer leader. I've been on the national board. I've been a state president. What gets said in a nominating committee meeting, especially at a national level, is you got to rely on each other to not say things. Because you can't possibly be honest and choose the right person. You can't possibly expect. You need to be able to expect that what you say is going to be kept within that group. It's essential. Okay? Nominating committees should be chosen carefully. Hopefully you were all selected for a really good reason. And people around you thought, these people can be prudent and tactful and circumspect. You have to know PTA, because it's kind of hard to choose leaders for an association you don't know. It takes courage to be on a nominating committee, because sometimes you are not going to pick the person that everybody thinks you're going to pick, or you're not going to pick the person who thinks they're going to be picked, and you have to be able to stand by that decision. And that's not easy to do, especially if you've got a bully on your committee, which we've seen happen too frequently. I didn't point to anybody. I don't know you all well enough to know that.
It's a joke from the call, that's a lie.
I'm not even going to ask. We're just going to move on.
Now, you
Very
guys elect, and
interesting.
you elect early, and you're around for a long period of time, but a lot of state associations, and especially a lot of local units, they don't elect their nominating committees till like a month or two before they, and then how do you get to really assess? How do you get to think?
Ours used to be that way.
Yeah.
We just changed
We
it
just
during
changed it.
I'm thrilled.
Cindy's administration, or Mindy's.
And the
They
Mindy
used to
and
run
Mindy.
from the opposite of what the election cycle was, and now they run with the board that will be nominated.
Yeah, because it was a bylaws changed when I was
It gives
bylaws
you-
chair.
It gives you a chance to watch people in action and to think about what makes sense for this association. It gives you a chance to think about not who is the best person, but what does this association need? Where are the holes that need to be filled? Where are the skill sets that need to be found? And it's hard to do that if you're only coming in 30 days, 60
That's right.
days before. And I hope that all of you
That
were
should be
elected on merit and
highlighted.
ability. At a local level, we know that's not always true. I talk a lot about being circumspect. I talk a lot about being careful. You are the most important committee in PTA, as far as I'm concerned. You ensure the future viability of this association. Florida PTA fails if you fail.
No pressure.
Ooh, no pressure. Exactly. I mean, really, what it comes down to is you're the future. You're thinking about the future. Everybody in the association should be future.
Right.
Thinking about the future. Everybody should be. But you're ensuring the future. And that's a totally different thing.
That weight, that gravity.
It's important.
It
What
is.
you do is very important. The nominating committee is defined in bylaws, right? These are basics. I'm glad you changed the bylaws so that you're there. They're usually odd number. You're an odd number.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So that
We're odd.
you
In a
shouldn't.
variety of ways.
I would love for you all to be in consensus about things, but there are going to be times when you're not going to be in consensus. That's why there's an odd number. Majority wins, you
Which
know.
is sometimes a good thing.
You're elected, not appointed, I hope.
Yeah.
Well, Why elected, not appointed? Out of curiosity, do you?
Because favoritism can happen on appointments.
There you go.
Or elections.
And it gives the
Sorry.
perception to the field, and that's the perception to everybody around you that you're not beholden to anybody. Right?
Hey, do we get to keep this PowerPoint for our council presidents and pass
You
this
get to
on,
use
don't
it
we?
however you want.
Because I see some wheels already turning in some of the council presidents' minds
We
that.
have training.
There you go. I'm watching their because they're doing the heavy nod. Yeah.
Typically, the president is not a member or ex officio because you do not want to have the perception that the president is influencing and picking their successor. Certainly, the president can be consulted and ask for an opinion, but they don't sit in your meeting and they don't tell you what to do. You normally elect your own chair, again, that independence, that being able to get the work done. Okay, and you're supposed to name a nominee for each position.
And Deb, also in Florida, our president-elect is not a member also.
Good.
So, neither of the president nor the president, and I don't think you can be a member either, right?
No, because I'm chair of the elections committee
But I mean,
as immediate past
I
president.
think immediate past president is not one of the people.
Well,
that
And I
serve.
love that, because that's not the case in a lot of places. And a lot of times the president-elect's sitting on the nominating committee and choosing their board,
Yeah,
which is not
That's not-
appropriate.
That
No.
defeats
It
the
sends a
purpose.
really, really bad message to
Right.
membership in general.
Yep.
And you report as noted in the bylaws. Typically, you report to the membership, typically, but you may report to the board first to give the board a heads up. I haven't read your bylaws to see exactly how you go about doing this.
Right.
Okay? Normally elect a chair at the first meeting that you have. I don't know if this is typical.
have you guys done that already?
Yes.
You guys have had your first meeting, elect your chair, and you've reviewed the job description. So you're already at that point.
Yes.
What we strongly recommend is that you create a list of qualifications. What are you looking for within each of those job descriptions? What are you looking for? Not who are you looking for? What are you looking for? What skill sets, what characteristics of an individual would be ideal for the positions that you need to fill? Okay? Or what characteristics would be ideal for your board of directors overall? Okay? You create, I hope, create or review an application process. Do you have I think you do have an application
Yes.
process.
And we're in the process of reviewing all
Okay,
that.
cool.
Yep.
So that it's not just gathering names. Create or review a recommendation process so people can make recommendations to you as well. I might want to apply, but you might want to nominate me. So have a way for other individuals to make recommendations to you. I strongly suggest that you would establish some sort of screening process and interview questions to ask each of the candidates so that you can maybe get them to fill something out or do it in a phone interview. National PTA works that way, by the way. Where you're asked the same questions as everybody else. I just hired a staff member at National PTA. I just hired a new national service rep. Every single person who I interviewed got the same 16 questions. We spent an hour on the phone together. It gives you a general sense of, if you're working with the same set of questions, how people think, how people communicate, what are priorities to them, and that is the kind of thing that you should be looking for. And you should all be working on the questions together and figuring out the process together and using the same set of parameters as you do your calls. And I strongly recommend you create a plan of work or timeline if you don't already have it.
We actually, if I may interject, sorry, Beth.
Yeah.
We did create a timeline as the main election, the main committee, the 7 of us.
Yes.
We came up with a timeline. We actually used a timeline that was used in the past, and we doctored it up to our standards. And then we also we appointed each other, as in, okay, Katrina and I are going to do this one. Everyone gets their ideas together. Send the two of us. We create it. We send it out to everybody. So we also gave people job responsibilities that they're responsible for in the committee, so that way it's not always falling on the chair.
Right.
It goes on everybody else. So everybody has an opportunity in the committee to have a voice as well. Because sometimes it falls on the chair, and the chair sometimes doesn't have that gusto. To
That
put it
skill
nicely,
set.
to do that when you have 6 other people who are with you that
Right.
I may not be able to do this, but Maxine can, or Maxine's not able to, but Tracy can.
Great.
So it kind of helps that you also break down that qualifications because not everybody's the same. So making it where everybody has a piece of the pie, all 7 of us have something to put in there together, I think is also a good way to also make your committee stronger.
I agree with you.
There's a copy of your timeline in the packet too.
That's not the right one, but yes.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
That's not the
If
one
I have
I'm
to
using
send
it
you
on.
the new one.
Okay.
Yeah, this was the initial one then.
Yes.
All right.
I was like,
Okay.
wait.
Sorry about that. That's okay.
I would like to share with you what we think is the standard in the field, not necessarily at the state level, but at the local unit level. And
I'm gonna let Jude sit here.
leave it open. So I'll share my slide with you. Okay.
Right here, right here.
It's not true.
Okay, hold on. Sorry.
You have to stop being proud of the fact that the easiest way to get a leadership position in PTA is by leaving the room to go to the bathroom.
That's right.
We actually all joke about it.
That's right. Because you come back and the next thing you know, you're president-elect.
We joke about it. And Linda Johnson is a national service representative, and she got hired with that statement.
But-
She made that statement at her face-to-face interview, and I said, I want that woman. she's been with us for 5 years.
On their qualifications list, it should probably include something about bladder control.
Don't
I think
leave the room.
Never leave the room.
Never
The
leave the
point
room.
here is, I mean, we could joke among ourselves, but we know way too many of us have gotten into positions that, and we kind of sort of joke about it, but it's almost kind of, really kind of pathetic that we got to joke about something like that.
Well, we talk about it being spackle because we have a lot of people that are willing to fill those holes. You know, oh, you can't find somebody? I'll go ahead and do it. When we all become that hole filler, that gap filler, and as soon as you fill that gap with someone, just because their heart's right, you fill that gap, you stop looking for the right candidate, and you may be denying somebody or depriving your association for a catalyst, someone who could actually change the trajectory of your path going forward by always using the same people over and over again as spackle. So it's comforting that we always have that quiver of arrows to pull from because it's the same ones. But what are you doing? You're crippling your association. So anyway, go ahead.
I'm going to suggest to you, based on a whole pile of research, some of the general criteria that you should probably be looking at for and you certainly can add to this. First of all, anybody you're nominating should be a PTA member. If they have to join the PTA in order to be nominated, do they actually believe in the association in the first
Exactly.
place? They need to be willing to receive and attend training. And I'm saying that deliberately because I don't care what you bring to the table, every one of us, I learn something new every day. I don't know about you, and I've been in PTA for, oh boy, a long time, 30 plus years at this point. I still learn something new. We all have the ability to learn. So honestly, as a nominating committee, if someone really thinks they've got it all and they're your savior, they're probably not an ideal candidate for you. You really want enthusiasm and support of PTA. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen get very upset when not nominated to a state association and come to me at, why wasn't I nominated? And I thought, all you did was badmouth that association for the past 3 years. There's constructive criticism, I think we can improve. We can, and then there's, you're not doing anything right. And if you're publicly, you're not doing everything right, you're not exactly an ideal candidate to take over. Belief in PTA's mission. We're a mission-driven association. We're here because of the mission. Every one of us is in this room because of the mission. We don't exist without the mission. So if you can figure out a way to ask the kinds of questions to get an understanding of whether somebody actually understands the mission, and that's why they're here, that'd be a really good way to figure out whether somebody's qualified. They need to be willing to commit time and attention. This is a board commitment. A board of directors of a statewide nonprofit. This is not a little rinky-dink coffee club. This is incredibly important. And you're all volunteers. You have a small staff. You expect an awful lot of your volunteers. It is a commitment, and people need to understand the level of commitment. And I don't think, sometimes nominating committees shy away from the commitment part because they're afraid they're going to chase people away. But then you get people, or you nominate people who may not understand that it is something they're going to have to commit time and energy to. Okay.
And the truth is, and those of you that served on my board of directors, you'll know that there were frequent people that every time we did roll call, they weren't present because they could not make it to the board of directors meetings, they couldn't make it to trainings. It wasn't a priority for them. However, the position was prestigious. The name tag really helped them in their community. It looked great on Facebook, but they didn't have the willingness to put the time and the commitment in. And you could check Facebook and they had time to do everything else in their personal life. Because people forget that you can say, I'm sorry, I can't make it because of this, that, and the other, and all you got to do is look on Facebook and find out, wow, that's because you were at 17 blah, blah, blah things this past week, so that's why you couldn't do it. You've got to make sure that their heart is willing, and you got to sell the job as it is. How many times do we hear local unit people say, well, they just didn't do their job, but then we find out later on, you didn't sell it as a time commitment, that it was going to take 5 hours a week or it was going to take 6 meetings a year. You've got to be honest about that as you present that. You can't sugarcoat it, once again, to fill the spot. So time, those people, could my board have been more effective if everybody was all hands on? Absolutely. Did we let it railroad us or stop us or, no, absolutely it didn't. But that meant that we had to share the workload. That means that when I could have had 10 people in the room, 7 people had to handle all of the workload. So being honest about the time commitment is imperative. And also investigating to make sure that they in the past have given their time and attention to what needed to be done. That's also important.
Deb, I have a question. Sure. You mentioned about the support of PTA and how people ask for feedback. Are we allowed to give feedback as a nominating committee? If Naomi runs for vice president of membership and she doesn't make the slate, and let's say she doesn't get elected, but she comes to one of us and says, or she comes to me and says, can you tell me why I didn't make the slate? We're not allowed to give that information. Correct?
No.
I didn't think so.
I'm going to say no because your discussion took place behind closed doors.
No, and I get that part, but I'm saying if they,
Well, what if the question was framed as, what could I do differently?
right, if someone comes up to you and asks us
I
those
want to grow
questions-
as a leader. I didn't make the cut. What can I do to improve my standing?
Can someone ask that question to someone?
That's a fair question, especially if someone is.
It is, and I'm going to let Deb.
Yeah, let me go there because I sat on the National PTA Board of Directors, and at one point in time, I ran for an officer position. And I didn't get the call, and I got a call from the National PTA nominating chair. And she said, I'm calling to tell you that we've chosen someone else. I said, would you mind telling me who? And she told me who, and I said, great. Good person, I'm glad you found somebody good. She said, we just wanted you to know why. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Because the committee as a group said, we have 4 strong candidates or 3 strong candidates. We're choosing one person over another, and they felt as a group and made the decision together as a group.
Okay.
That they wanted together as a group to let somebody know why. And it was geography. For me, it was geography because they were trying as a committee to make sure that the entire country
was
being represented. And there was too much of a concentration in one place. And they just felt that their job was to make sure that there was representation across the board. And I said, that makes a lot of sense.
And I'm glad you said that because I was thinking as you were saying, there's no way that you could tell Naomi because your vote had been in support of Naomi and you'd be like, I thought you were the best qualified, which would throw Katrina under the bus if Katrina's vote was not for Naomi. But as a nominating committee, and I'm not encouraging this, so don't go back,
I'm not
don't
encouraging you.
go back home.
You could
Right.
do it if you wanted to.
You could, but Naomi would have to address the entire nominating committee, and the entire nominating committee would have to do that. Is that something you want to take on afterwards? No. I'm going to say, if it were me on the nominating committee, oh no. Just trust. There's got to be a level of trust. And it would be a great question, but I'll be honest with you. Most people don't ask the question the way that you worded it. They stomp their feet and want to know why they weren't, why they weren't, and then they run from the floor.
I think in that case, then it sucks for you. But like, if you really come to, I would assume you would approach the chair and say, I want to grow as a leader. My heart was there, and I understand I didn't get chosen, but I do want to continue to grow as a leader. Is there any feedback? And then let the chair go back to the committee and say, or if the committee has decided ahead of time, if it's something that's really not like a negative, something like geography, and said, listen, we didn't pick you because you live in Hillsborough County. There's
we have 4
95
others.
people from Hillsborough County.
Sure.
That's not like it's not a thing that's going to start a fight. Whereas if it's like, well, we heard you're a hot mess, it's a little different conversation.
We follow you on Twitter. Yeah, so we know.
We saw your life.
No, but you're right. But the truth is, anyone that puts their name on a piece of paper and submits it to you, if they can't handle the word no, they shouldn't put their paper in.
Correct. But I'm just-
Because
I'm
if they
just
can't
saying,
handle not being
just-
slated with grace and dignity, they aren't a leader.
Yeah.
They're not.
But we've had that in the past.
We
That's
have.
the reason why I want to let's kibosh it now and come up with a decision as a group. to
Yeah,
have a
right. And you may want to
mechanism.
say,
Something we need to.
check with Madam President or Madam President-elect, express your interest to grow as a leader.
Yes, that's a really good response, because that is the job of the president and the president-elect, is to build leadership.
That's right.
And to ensure there are people coming up through PTA that can fill their position in the future. They share that burden with you, so,
Right.
you know.
Just
that's a
social
really
media is the
That's
Yeah.
right. And perhaps the incoming president, the president-elect, may want to meet with the nominating committee as a whole and say, listen, do you have anything that you can share with me without breaking confidentiality if you guys as a group have decided? I wouldn't meet with candidates. I would meet with the incoming leadership.
I just look at it as
That's the
social
only thing I would
media-
recommend.
Social media has taken a big turn since you were first elected back in 2008.
Social media.
I mean, we do that 10-year timeline thing on Facebook now, but 10 years ago was a big difference in social media than nowadays.
That's right.
And I have, sometimes that perters people. They hear no, like you said, I got to put your big boy panties on and suck it up. You were told no, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm Sandy Traeger this weekend.
That's right.
I'm going to
But
start every
some
conversation
people,
with
they
that.
don't want to do that, and they go right to social media, and it's negative. And I think
Right.
that's something that we want to try to deter from. And that was
But again,
So-
that is not
Question.
the person we wanted in leadership.
Exactly.
That's
anyway.
right. That's right.
And they're likely to walk away if that's the type of reaction they would have had anyway. They're likely to not stay in the hopper.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of people. And with love,
yes.
that was the best decision.
Right.
If you
might
can't stay with
also wanna
bitterness.
Consider that fact, that people's personal lives, their emotions themselves are caught up in this, and that they're willing to commit their time and put their name in there. And make sure that the process of saying no is one that's thankful and grateful,
Yes.
and make sure that people understand that it was a really hard decision to make, okay, and that there were, I don't know what that was, but.
We have 45 minutes. So she's keeping us on track.
And
we've only got a
that
few
you
more
had
slides
a certain set of
on this.
parameters, and that you encourage them to apply again. You encourage them to continue working in PTA. But at this point in time, you're not nominating them.
That's
How you handle that's really important.
That's Katrina's job.
Well, there's a difference between somebody coming at you and saying, well, why didn't you pick me? And, hey, what can I do to grow for next time? There's a huge difference.
That's
Well, and I'll say, as a county council president, this is one of your pat speeches. This is not the place for you at this time in PTA. Let's consider other options for you, another time in your life. Let's move forward.
And you may
It's not
also
your
want to
time.
consider being really transparent in what you're doing, so that your membership is aware that you've got a process, and that you've got a rubric, or you've got a set of parameters, or a set of skills that you're looking for, that you're trying to build a strong and cohesive board, that a lot of different people are going to apply, many of whom are great leaders, but you're going to choose based on the parameters that you've developed. And that way, also, that would feel a little better to me, saying, okay, well, then maybe whatever skill set I bring, they already have at the table.
And hopefully we'll have some time in the room today to talk about that metric.
Okay?
And Deb, when we get to the election process, we're just going to go ahead and stop because at this level, the election committee takes over that part. So once we get to that,
Sure.
you're good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Typically, at subsequent meetings, you're doing an interview. You're interviewing potential candidates. It's split among you, but you have to answer the same ask the same questions, and be dealing with the same parameters. You should be discussing all candidates. I don't care if you don't like the person yourself. Should at least be looking for the pros and cons, what they bring to the table, what they don't bring to the table. The interview might have been a disaster, but you might have gotten some really great recommendations and seen this person in action, and you need to be able to share it all. You should evaluate based on the criteria that you come up with as a group. Ensure that there's a willingness to serve. Okay? Consider what is in the best interest of the association. That's your job. What is in the best interest of the association? and then contact the committee's choices. Okay? But you should also be really cautious. Let the people know who you've nominated and make sure that they're still willing to accept, and then please let the people know who did not get the nomination, because unfortunately I've seen it go where it's been months and nobody's heard
Right.
anything, and that's just not fair to somebody who put themselves out there and gave you their name. One of my favorite quotes attributed to Benjamin Franklin.
Lord, yes.
I can't say it more straightforward. What you say in your meeting has to stay in your meeting. You cannot have the proper level of discussion if you do not trust each other. I can't say so-and-so, I've worked with her, she's a fantastic person, but her follow-through is just awful. And I'm just worried about the fact that her life is a mess right now, and I just worry that she's doesn't have the time to commit to it. If I know you're gonna turn around and say that to her the next time you see her, that's not appropriate, but.
Or say it to somebody else, who will say it to somebody else, who will say it to somebody else, and by the time it does get back to her, it's so skewed that you've hated her ever since the moment you met her.
And
And
is to bring that up. If I know that, I have to bring it up. I'm responsible for doing that. So you got to trust each other, and you can't talk, and we leak badly at many levels of PTA.
when I was president-elect, I had a few people that sat on the nominating committee, and they were like, "Oh God, I would give anything if I could just sit down and talk to you for a second." I'm like, if you do, I'm going to have to punch you right in the mouth, because you can't taint my ears. I can't hear it. Do your job. You do your job, I'll do my job. You were elected, sit in that room, do the hard work, and just be honest. And don't mess up. Don't mess up. Whatever you do, don't mess up. Somebody do it.
A long time ago, when I was a NAT rep, when I was on the national board, I was a NAT rep, and I was at a convention, I won't name the state, and I picked up at the airport.
It was Texas, wasn't it?
No.
I'm just teasing. I'm just messing.
Got picked up by a past state president from that particular state, and who proceeded to tell me exactly what happened during the nominating committee meeting, and how upset she was about who was chosen and who wasn't chosen, and right on down to who said what about who. And I'm in the car going. Then I said the words. I'm like, "Were you on the nominating committee?" Like, please God, please say no. He said, "Oh no." Her roommate was. So her roommate came back to the room and told her everything that had happened. I'm like,
Good job, California.
Right.
and unfortunately, it happens. It happens. So don't be that state, okay?
Don't be the leak. Don't be the WikiLeak.
Hey there, Edward Snowden.
No.
Really, really, really study qualifications, okay? But don't pick somebody because she's a friend. Or she's earned it. Oh, good Lord, I hate those words.
She's put her time in.
Yeah,
He's
she's
put his
put her
time
time
in.
You know, you're picking the right person. If someone's put a lot of time in, God bless them, and thank you. But that doesn't mean necessarily you're the right person moving forward in a position. Remember that the committee discussion stays in the room, okay? Don't repeat. Please don't repeat. Nobody's ever going to want to run. Not the kind of people you want to run. You're not going to get that. If you're a proposed candidate, please leave the room. I know that sounds ridiculous
No,
to
it
even
is.
have to say, but especially if you're on a nominating committee and you're considering one of these positions, I almost feel like saying you might not want to be on the nominating committee.
Right.
It looks horrible when a nominating committee names most of themselves to positions. Even if you've left the room, it still looks horrible. So think about that. Be careful. Perception is 100% of others' realities. Okay?
Right.
So I don't care if you followed everything. At least protect yourself and make sure you were not in the room when you were nominated. But if you're all nominating each other, it's going to look awful. And I really think that if you're looking at running for a position, you may not want to be serving. on this
Recuse yourself,
committee.
yeah.
And ensure the report is done through proper channels. Okay? You know, the right people see that right report when it's supposed to be done. It doesn't get shared with everybody else before. Read your bylaws. See where it is supposed to be reported, how it's supposed to be reported, in what manner it's supposed to be reported, by whom, to whom. Okay? Normally, it does not need, the board doesn't vote on your
That's
your
right.
slate.
Nope.
Executive committee doesn't vote on your slate. You are delivering this to your association. You may send it to exec or board first if that is the way your bylaws are written. as a FYI, this is what we're putting out next week.
Right, they do get it as a courtesy. They
As
get
a
it before it goes
courtesy.
public.
But they don't vote on it, and they don't approve it, and they have no control over it. Right?
The president and the state office get it, the sitting president and the state office.
And that's my spiel. I go back to what I said at the beginning. It's the most important committee in PTA.
So,
You have to do your job in a really, really serious manner.
and thank you, Deb. This PowerPoint, when I first read it and went through it, I went, oh my God, if I'd had this PowerPoint back when I was council president, local unit president, which, you know, that was a short term, it would have really been helpful. Because as you guys do work in your county, and if you guys served on the board of directors last year, you know what a fiasco some of our local units and county councils had when it came time for elections. Anybody have a county where there might have been some crazy elections that went on?
You want to hear a story?
No. I mean, later,
while we're drinking. It's a good
later
time.
while we're drinking, that's right. So, but please give me a head start. So I don't know if you were in here in the room earlier when we talked about, thanks, Polly, my brain just completely left me. Hold on. Crazy stories. Have you ever experienced a time when Florida PTA nominating committee released the slate of officers and in your head, or maybe verbally out of your mouth, you went, what? Right? Has it happened? And I raised my hand. I was like, oh yeah, there's been times where I went, I can't believe, or I've even gone, who's that? I don't even know who that is. Where did that person come from? They haven't put their time in. Oh, right? Bad. Because we don't come, our positions come from, our opinions come from whatever our current position is or our experience that we've had, right? So I think all of you, remind me again, who is now sitting on the nominating committee? You are now elected people on the nominating committee. And so the rest of you guys are alternates. So we're going to get into the timeline. Obviously, I don't have the right timeline, but I do want to talk a little bit about that. So if you've got a copy of the current timeline, that would be great. One of the reasons why we changed our bylaws back when I was the bylaws chair and Mindy was still president, because we felt that the nominating committee wasn't being as effective as they could be. We felt that electing them at leadership convention the year that they were supposed to do their work and then report in by the beginning of the year, that wasn't enough time. We gave them 5 or 6 months to find the leaders of the association. So we changed that term where they are now elected and they have a full year, which you are now 6 months into, to identify potential candidates. You don't wait for interest forms to come in. There is a timeline where you send out interest forms.
So I don't really know, are we, because he's about to put up documents that should stay within the committee. And
A timeline?
Well, it's still not privy yet, because we still are working out the edges. We did put,
Okay.
it was like a town.
Well, it is in here. I mean, there's already a,
The timeline that's in here is from,
That was a
okay, so let me ask you this. If everyone in here is in here because they have the potential to serve on the nominating committee, do you not want your alternates to know what the timeline is for?
when we were ready to give it to Jens, I think we were.
Oh, so it's-
tweaking it, not
okay.
to-
It hasn't been
to
finalized
Jean.
at this
It's
point.
not
Okay, I get you.
finalized.
I get you.
That's what
Okay.
I'm saying.
So you can just verbally, if I ask you a question, when are you sending the interest form out? You can verbally give that answer because that's not confidential information.
Correct.
Okay. And I don't need dates. I mean,
I think
whatever.
This timeline that is in here is relatively the same.
Oh,
The
sorry.
only
Yes.
difference-
sorry.
There's a
Most
couple
of
of
the
changes.
difference is a couple of changes, and then on our timeline, we have assigned people.
Actually, this just has years.
Well, the issue that, again, because the committee last year did not share this yet. I mean, they shared it with Ms. Hovey, and then they went from there, and that's what it's just not. I mean, certain times are the same because we have to do it because the 30 days or the 60 days,
Sure.
according to the
National
bylaws.
laws and everything else.
But I think until we give it to Jean and say, hey, 'cause
This is
we-
official.
this
Sure,
is
that's
official
fine.
Because we meet this afternoon. And
But
then
you can give us, and you can give your alternates just kind of an estimate of, okay. So you were elected at convention. And now it's January. So obviously you've had some
We
meetings.
got elected, no, we didn't get elected convention.
Oh, no, you were elected. That's right. We didn't do that. That's right. We did it in
August.
August. Okay, so you were elected in August. And so now you've had a couple of meetings and established your metrics and your rubric for the qualifications, or have you've done your questions,
No.
your
we're still.
interview questions?
We have something
And
that we
I
go
mailed
by,
it
but we
out.
have not.
Okay, all right.
We
So,
have
Tracy and Charmaine was supposed to be putting it together, so we're still
No,
doing
they're
baby
doing.
steps.
Okay, so the ones that are in here are not your interview questions.
No,
Those look like national.
Okay, they're not nationals.
Resources for the nominating committee. This is not
Yeah.
our stuff.
Okay.
General.
All right, so that's perfect. That's perfect. So you guys are still working on that. But also, as individuals and as a group collectively, if you notice some of the things that were on the PowerPoint, we're basically look at engagement of where someone is right now. If they're a council president, if they're a committee chair, if they're a committee member, if there's someone from your county or someone that you see present, if you happen to be friends with them on Facebook and you see that they are connected to the community, and this is something else that's important, if you see that they're actually living out the mission. And I don't mean living out the name tag, I mean living out the mission, where you see that they're truly connected. And I know you laughed at that, but that's the truth. Some people, they just want a name tag. They just want to be able to write it on their resume. And that's unfortunate. But when they're back home, they don't embody the mission. They can talk the talk when they're present, but they don't embody the mission every day. They just embody it 3 times a year at convention and, whatever. Those things are important, how you can, because you have a lot of power. You have a lot of influence. You have a huge decision to make. And with that comes a lot of responsibility to make sure that you're making the right one. We talk about popularity. We talk about somebody that you know. And obviously the people that you know and you work with, you can make a better decision about them because you know their heart, you know what their work product is. But in order to grow the association, to make sure that we stay as diverse and inclusive of every potential leader, because you never know who the next leader is. Someone wise once told me a long time ago, do you think you're a good leader? Yes, I do. Do you really believe you're a good leader? Yes, I do. Then you can work with anybody who ends up in your room. Because if you say, man, I wish they hadn't have put that person, then you're really not a good leader. Because you can, if you're a good leader, you can work with anyone wherever they are. Behind this door, your deliberations and your time together is going to force an intimacy that you've never had before. If you've ever served on an executive committee, whether it's at your county level or at the state level, you have no idea how hard it is until you get behind that door. So if you're sitting in the room and you're making a decision about who's going to be on the executive committee for the next 2 years or 4 years or however long, and you've never sat on the Florida PTA Executive Committee before, doesn't mean you can't make the decision. But for those people that have, they understand just how it looks so glossy and awesome on the outside, but then once you get in here, it's one of the hardest things besides raising kids and being married 100 times that I've ever done in my life. For those of you that don't know, and I'll go ahead and say it, I interviewed for the board of directors for National PTA. I did. Yeah, I did. I went through the interview process. I had my phone call, answered some questions, and I'll be honest with you because it stays in the room, right? Man, I tell you what, I left it all on the table. And it was real. I wasn't nervous the moment that we started talking and she would ask me questions. She'd ask the question and I'd go, God, that's a great question. Because I didn't know what the questions were. And I'm used to the questions that we would ask, because I've served on the nominating committee for Florida PTA before. Never will do it again, so hugs to you. But she would ask me a question and I'd go, oh man, she just teed that up. I'm fixing to knock a home run. Did you feel strong when you did your interview?
I did.
And they weren't questions that you anticipated. Nope. I mean, out of the blue, just questions not about my PTA experience, maybe, but just out of the blue, man. And so I would love to share with you some of the, I can't remember the word that I used when someone said, well, how did the interview go and how were the questions? Were they tough? I said that they were unique and they were, oh my gosh, the word just came and then it left me again, provocative. They were provocative because they made me dig deep. But I'm a speaker and I can think quick on my feet. So, I can sell PTA and I can sell me. I can sell my passion. And if they buy it, that's great. If they don't, that's all right. I don't mind. Because they have a decision to make. And I know that there were many people that put their name in and had interviews. So if I don't make the cut, it's not a personal thing. I'm not going to call somebody and say, I don't understand why I didn't. Man, because when you put me on a scale with some of the other people, the other state presidents that I served with that may want to continue on. I don't know what their work product is above and beyond what happened in those rooms and those meetings, but I trust the nominating committee. I mean, I trust the NLRC. I know some of those people, and I think, man, they're going to do a great job. They're going to hash it out. I only spoke to one person, so only one person gets to sell me. If they believed in me, one person gets to sell me, but everybody's bringing somebody to the table, right? So if it works, it does. But what I took from that was phenomenal questions. So do you guys mind if Jude and I share some of the questions with you, and you can use them or not use them? That's up to you. You're looking questioning.
Me?
Yeah, you have a frown.
No, I don't have a frown. I just don't know if, can you guys share them with us?
Can I share the questions that were asked of me from the NLRC?
Do you guys have to wait until the process is over or no?
Oh no, Deb, you're the NSR queen of the universe. Do I have to wait? Because it was a question asked of me. I'm not telling what my answers were, but they were pretty good. What do you think?
I think somewhere in there, I think.
Okay, she's hesitating, so maybe I can't share.
I think the process has to be ended before it's.
Because I can share what the questions were.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll know pretty soon because we were supposed to know by the end of June. I mean, January.
Can you share the questions if they use them again next year also?
Good point. Oh. But then every NLRC should change their questions, shouldn't they? Because they might have asked you.
The questions from my first round was not the same questions for my second round.
So you don't know if, something, because a new committee, because that committee was just elected, right?
Yeah,
Right.
So there's a possibility that
They were elected at convention.
For my first
many
round, it
people
was
fall
about
off
the
that
same
committee?
people.
Two,
Only
same
two
people?
people fell off.
It changes every year. So
Yeah, I know,
if
but
it's
two
two,
falling
three.
off,
This year will be three.
So there's the possibility they can still might use them.
All right, so fine, we won't.
I don't know.
But man, I really wanted to give you guys some fantastic questions. Not that you can't come up with your
Find out.
own.
You might be able to still get them to us. Just find
You
out.
can
Yes.
still send them to us.
Yeah, just
I have a
find out.
question.
I can
and-
yes.
And it may be a question for Deb. Does the nominating committee, National Nominating Committee, currently have some form of observational rubric that they use? Right now, we see the different rubrics as interview questions. Those are different from observational. We're a two-year term.
Right.
So right now we're observing. So the board of the leadership summit this weekend is an opportunity to actually observe potential leaders. And what I'm looking for is not the rubric at the end of the process to ask questions on what they're doing, but right now an observational rubric to say, I'm
Participation,
creating one, but
how somebody participates,
Correct.
attitude.
Are
Are
they
they engaged? Are they this or are they
Right.
this?
Are they
Right.
on time? Are they
Are they
Sure.
to others, things like that.
right? So I want. That's what I want.
Kinda like a
My
little
guess
checklist.
is that they do, but I don't staff the nominating committee.
Okay.
And a lot of what the National Nominating Committee does is very private, so.
And Alvin's here, and he serves on the NLRC, but I don't want to put him on the spot and ask him
No,
some questions.
and-
If there's something shareable,
But isn't that something we
But-
could come up with on our
Yeah,
own?
we can
as
come
an
up with it.
Absolutely.
I wanna
Yeah,
know
if there
there
was
was
something already
that
out
we
there.
can-
Template
If there's a
Template,
template
yeah.
there.
That's a
I would
great-
suggest that
that's
you
a great
ask
idea.
the committee chair at a national level if there's anything that
Is that Marcella?
That's Marcella.
Okay.
Yeah, ask if she would be willing to share anything with you that they use, or any samples or templates that they've used in the past, they might be able to assist you. She could say no. If that's the case, then it's no. If
that's
she may
fine.
have
That's
something
right.
that she can share with you.
right,
Cindy, did you say you served on a nominating committee?
Florida PTA.
Florida PTA.
I did.
Did you ever see, or Maxine, did you guys ever have something?
No,
No,
back
because-
when I was on it,
The two-year committee got created from I committee. We brought
Yeah.
that recommendation.
That's
from
right.
the finalist committee.
my
Right.
committee was the last one to do we were elected in January, or we elected at the
June.
leadership convention
July,
in
yep.
July, and then were done in like May.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, there was no-
okay.
no.
I
There
don't
was
know
a
if
fill
you
out a
did
form,
this.
send it in. We'll sit around and talk about you. And if we think you're cool, you're in. And I'm just teasing. It wasn't that. It really wasn't. But it was an accelerated process. You didn't have the time.
No.
And that was one of the things that I saw as president-elect is that, well, obviously it was important to me too, that we just kind of slow the process down. And not that, please don't take offense to this. We at Florida PTA have never done something just because National did it. In fact, sometimes if National did it, we were like, we're not doing it because they did it and whatever. Because we're Florida, you know, our drummer is a different beat. You know, ours is kind of cool and National's not. So
And no other state thinks that either, so you should
that's
just know
right.
that.
Yeah, but we are top 3, so
we
just
are
want to say. But we are Florida, yeah. So we're going to look at all of our, no. And we, number 4, stop. Who, New York, you know what? I can take her in the parking lot. It's not a problem.
There's nothing I would like better than the two of you being in competition and driving each other to greater membership. I would love
Oh, I'm
that.
all about it. I'm all about it. And you know what? You just said something else. Membership. The right dynamic of people in the room, the right team spirit that you put together. Because individually, people may be dynamic. And I'm going to be very clear on this. Individually, you may be a dynamic go-getter, I'm going to change the world person. But if you can't collaborate, cooperate, and communicate together, respectfully, in a room and make decisions, because a president and a president-elect or a secretary or a treasurer, they're not an island to themselves. It is an executive committee. And if they can't work together with other people, if they don't play well with others, I don't care how dynamic and strong their personality is, if they don't play well with others, do you really want to put them on a committee? Or do you want to allow your president to give them a great chair position where they can operate individually? Not everybody who is dynamic belongs on a leadership team. They may just work very well by themselves, individually, on their own, and can get a lot of things done. But like somebody said earlier, well, they've put the time in. That has absolutely nothing to do with the sustainability of the association. I used to work for a school district. How many of you work for a school district? How many of you know there's a union? How many of you know that no matter how great you are at your job, when you try to move up, if Cecilia's had that job for 15 years and you've had the job for 10 years, Cecilia with the blue hair with their little things in and her glasses with the horn rim, and she's been doing it. It takes her 20 more minutes just to get the email typed, but she's been in the system longer. Every time you go for an interview, if Cecilia's in the room, you're not going to get it because she's put her time in. Does that make her better?
No.
No. It just means that she's put her time in. She's got more, you know. No, apparently not, right? That was the frustrating thing about, you know, working in the school district. I knew that I was supposed to be over there and not over here, and you just can't move from over there until you've been there for 15 years. And I didn't have 15 years, so sayonara. I'm going to take over the world.
Don't be one of those state boards. Please don't be one of those state boards. We see it too frequently because people do not, younger people in particular, people who are busy, people who've got lives, people who have jobs, they are not going to sit around and wait 15 years to become something. If they've got something to offer and they're willing to offer it now,
That's
and they're
right.
not willing to take them, they're going to take their stuff and go someplace else with it and give it to somebody else.
That's
But
right.
see, now, I don't think we do that, and I mean, I'm going to be very honest because this is the second time I've done this too. When you do it the first time, God love you, why'd you do it again? You must be stupid to say yes, and I'll be that person because that's me.
Yeah, because ask me again.
But, yeah, but however, when we changed the bylaws 4 years ago, I think that was the big turning point as well. I think that's the thing is that you're not going to be, because trust me, I sat on the nominating committee and one of the people on the name, I went, I don't know her. And unfortunately back then we didn't get a chance to know them. So that made it even hard. I mean, luckily that person is where she is today, but that's also a good way to look, you know, now being able to sit there and observe is a better chance for us to find that. I'm going to use Naomi as an example because I've now known Naomi for 10 years. I can now look at Naomi on the board of directors, you know, versus the Naomi at leadership. It's two different things. You can see that potential leader in her. Now I get to observe that if I needed to. So I think that's a big difference with changing the bylaws and making it the way that it is now. It's going to empower the association to not be stagnant and elect the same the 7 women that it normally is. And I think that's the big difference.
Right. So Deb had mentioned about if you've got somebody who's and I hate to say rising star, but you've got somebody who's energetic and they're the spotlight has been shown on them, or they have been able to find their moment to go, hey, I can do that. Hey, I can do a great job. When we've allowed them to serve in a chair position or asked them to serve in a chair position, and they've just knocked it out of the park and they've done a fantastic job. They may be a little immature. No, listen. No! What I mean,
I don't know where we're going with this.
no, listen, no, because I'm fixing to take you with me on a journey. Immature in their time on the Florida PTA, right? So there are times when, and how many of you, nobody in this room was around whenever I first started and became membership chair, because it was my first job was, yes. My first job was county council president, because remember, no offense you guys, but we get who we get and we can't pitch a fit, because you guys come from your own county, you get elected there. So we get you, and then we hang on for dear life sometimes, and sometimes we embrace you and say, oh, there's a leadership track with that one, right? But then my next job was membership chair. And what I got a lot of times, because the membership chair has to be somebody who's outgoing and energetic and loud, and I didn't have a filter. I got in trouble more time. Thank you. Okay, now you see where I'm going. I got in trouble more times than not. I mean, really. People held their breath. Oh, God, she's in the room. Oh, God, she just raised her hand. Oh, God, she's standing up. She's going to say something. And everybody from Escambia County was always like this. Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. However.
Were you under Pat Lancaster at that time? Who was president of your membership chair?
Karen Brown.
Karen Brown.
So, but people like Patty Hightower and Gene Hovey and other people who had been in leadership, they could see through all of the, bleh, I just can't believe I just said that. It came out of my mouth. They could see through that and go, you know what, we can take that energy and that immaturity and we can help her channel it. And before you know it, oh my gosh, you could actually be a state president and not say a curse word from the microphone. So proud of that, by the way. Thank you. I did say badass one time, I think. Well, if not, I just did it. So
But that was MSD, that was okay.
That's right. Okay, so there are times when you can be discussing a candidate and you can say, you know what, I just don't know if they're ready. They're kind of immature. They might not be ready for a vice president position. And that may be a valid conversation to have. But where do they gain their maturity? Do they gain their maturity still out there serving in chair positions? Are we going to lose that flaming, passionate star to something else? Or do we use this as an opportunity to help them grow? Do they have to be mature and ready to go when they get in the room? Or putting them with a leader who can take all of that energy and shape it into something productive? So these are all great, provocative things that you need to discuss. Don't discount someone because they haven't put their time in, or if their social media presence might be a little, but do what? So how do you guys feel about stalking people on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter?
I do it all the time.
I mean, when it comes to making your decision.
No, I do it right now.
Okay.
I do too. All of our BOD members, and I look at their pages.
Good to know. Dang, my phone's out there.
I know, not as a nominating committee, just as, honestly, to me, it's just as a county council president, to get ideas, to see what they're doing.
Right.
It's not necessarily nominating committee, but I do it as a county council president. I do it. I do it mainly to the county council presidents. I do it to our BOD to see what are we doing.
It's a good way to also get to know people. Like I didn't know Tracy
I
worked at Universal,
right?
And like just so happened I went there and I got to see her. But like it's also a good way to get to know people as people. It's
do you need to go?
Yeah, it's okay. When you know them as a number.
You need to get up? Yeah. Go ahead. You taking a potty break?
I can't believe
yeah.
you made it this long. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, we're gonna be done here shortly. I'm not gonna say anything bad while you're gone, or anything earth shattering.
So that is the way to get to
So right.
It's a good way to get to know people too, because you get to
Good or bad.
find out more about them too. Like, did everyone everyone knows I'm a big Harry Potter fan, but does someone also know that I'm a big Star Wars fan? You know, you get to know people in looking at their social media, not in a negative or positive way. It's just a way to get to know that person as a person.
But do you feel that, well, and this would, you would have to decide this on an individual basis because your vote's going to be up or down based on your gut feeling, right? And you're going to listen to each other, discuss your personal interaction with that person. If you've not had interaction, you really can't offer, well, I heard so-and-so. I mean, I grew up, my mom used to pound in my head, you don't take up the offense of another. So if somebody didn't offend you, you can't walk into a room and go, oh no, they made so-and-so upset, 10 years ago and I saw them crying, so we're going to have to discount them. You didn't experience it personally. So do you think personally that you would use somebody's outward personality or the way that they present themselves publicly, would you use that with any weight? Do you feel that as a member of the Florida PTA Executive Committee that you are held to a higher standard of your personal conduct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you say no? You said yes? Yes.
You are the brand of
You are
Florida
the brand.
PTA.
You are the
Right.
When
face.
you are on the EC, and if you're going to post drunken pictures of you passed out on a bathroom floor,
Damn,
then
I knew I should have took that one down.
sorry, I screenshot it. Then I think that
Saved,
you're making
tagged.
a choice. You don't see me posting party pictures, and part of that is because, like Florida PTA, I also represent the company that I work for.
Exactly.
And there's an expectation, and by the way, if you want to post drunken pictures of you passed on a bathroom floor, set your stuff to private. That is fine.
Yeah.
What you do in your private life is fine, but anytime your stuff is public, and Florida PTA or your company or anything else is
When your private
attached
life
to
becomes
it,
public.
that's right. Then you have associated it with that brand. And if I'm a brand manager for Florida PTA or otherwise, I'm gonna make sure that that's and that should be part of the standard of conduct.
Because you do
It is
realize
for my company.
you
It's
do
a
realize
double-edged sword in the sense of, well, at least for PTA, because I doubt it, but I'm sure there are members amongst our ranks that don't have social media. So when you're trying to pair,
Smart on them, though. I mean,
smart on them,
get a
but
bonus point for
Or if you're smart with
but it's
your
also a
social media.
disadvantage
I'm
because
Yeah.
hypothetically, let's say Joe does not have a social media, but I do. You see everything about me,
Is
and you're
Maxine coming
trying
back
to
in?
glean more into the person about the right fit, but he doesn't have a social media, so you can't figure out the outwardness that he puts in.
No.
You have to make sure that it's a consistent
Yeah.
balance,
So
if you will. If you're gonna go we're gonna go that route. That there's somehow a balance of how you're using that knowledge into the collective decision-making
Yeah, but
process.
it
I
shouldn't
think
be
when I
that
look
should be
at-
your only thing that you're looking
Yes.
like. It should
Yeah,
it
it's
should
just
be
a
a
component.
it's a tool,
It's
but
not
it's
the
not
only-
the it's not the
Exactly.
only.
It's
Look
not,
at
and
Katrina.
when I say I look at social media, it is not the only tool. I'll be honest. When they sent out the board of directors, I think when I started at membership chair, the first thing I went, and everyone here probably got a request from me because I didn't know anybody. I was new. I mean, when you called me, Cindy, I was like, I was new. So even the president, Madam President, I went, and the first thing that I did was go down the board of directors list, and I requested every single person as a friend. And when I went to accept everyone as a friend, I did look at those,
I
read
gotta
your
remove
social
her from my
media.
page.
You do.
And then I came
I'm just unfriending you now.
and then I came here because social media don't tell you the whole package.
That's right.
No,
Let me
it
ask you
doesn't
this.
tell you.
When
No,
you got
it
that
doesn't.
when you got the phone call, when you came to your very first board of directors meeting, what kind of greeting did you get? What kind of welcome did you get? Tell me the truth, and tell everybody the truth because I know.
From certain BOD members, I got a grand welcome. But from other BOD members,
Why
I
the
got
hell are
a-
you here?
Yeah, like
Who
is
are
she?
you?
Where do you come
Why
from?
did that
Why-
executive committee
yeah.
pick her?
We've never seen
We've
her before.
never seen her before,
Yeah. And I
right?
heard it. I heard the rumors. I heard the little chats. I did hear it.
That's
I mean,
right.
I don't. I'm very strong and confident in who I am. So.
And
that
we
doesn't
stood beside
bother
our
me.
decision as an executive committee.
Absolutely.
And
I
no,
appreciate
and
it.
if anyone came to us and said, "Well, why did you pick her?"
Hey, I was happy because diversity was coming.
Hey, hey!
Because I was like the only black female for many years.
That's right.
So, I mean, I have to give that to Cindy. She brought diversity to the board. It was the open for the door for it, because that was it.
And we were going to reach out
Yeah.
beyond our boundaries.
And it wasn't just new. It wasn't just I appreciate it because I not only was it someone that looked like me, but I appreciated that there was a lot more people that was new like me. They were like, "Oh, we never did this before either."
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
And the truth is, you've got to make those courageous decisions if you want to grow your membership. And I hate to say it that way. It all boils down to that, the sustainability of our association. You pick the wrong group of people and there's more turmoil behind here than there is out there. That doesn't build confidence. That doesn't exude professionalism. It doesn't build our brand. And then we stay number 4. And that's got to stop, right? Because we're Florida. I know, right?
How did that happen?
Because of membership, because of membership. And that's a whole new discussion for another day. We're not going to talk about it. So here's what I want you to take away from today. Obviously, I got mine too, just in case people don't know me, which is kind of funny. Hello, have you followed me on social media? So you understand the basics, and most of you knew that anyway. Most of you understood the basics. But one thing that Deb repeated over and over again, you're the most important committee that we've got. Your work is imperative. Your constant communication with each other is imperative. You have everything in the world to do between now and the time that your slate is announced. You have a huge weight of responsibility. If you have any questions, and I wish Tina were here because I want Tina to be able to call me at any time, ask for support, mentoring, whatever she needs as the chair of the elections committee. I am free to help her and offer her advice because it's not coming from Madam President. It's not coming from Madam President-elect. It's coming from the immediate past president who's in charge of the elections committee. And I need your job to flow. I need you guys to be able to do this and it be as easy and fluid as possible. So you're going to develop a metric. If that's, as a committee, if that's what you want. I encourage you to start working on that immediately. I encourage you to take that stock list of questions and become more provocative with it. Get outside of the comfort zone. Ask questions that don't revolve around PTA, that give you some insight into priorities that these people have. If I get clearance, I've got a couple of questions I'd love for you guys to be able to ask, because it's not, and here's another thing, it wasn't about the answer because there was no right or wrong answer.
No.
It was how I responded to the question and did I have an answer for it. Can I stand
And did
and
you
eloquent,
answer the
that's right,
question?
can I stand and eloquently express my view and my opinion about myself? Because there's no right or wrong answer. You ask me my opinion of something that I did or what was the hardest thing in my life that I had to overcome. There's no right or wrong answer. You can't say, well, she got that wrong because that was definitely not the hardest thing in her life, right? No, but they don't know me. But did I answer the question? Did I answer it? Was it believable? Can I eloquently present myself and carry myself? And that's what you want. You want anybody. You want a treasurer and a secretary and a president-elect and a VP. You want anybody who can represent and market the brand. And like I said, and please don't forget this, behind this door, collaborate, communicate. Well, there was 3 C's.
Cooperate.
Cooperate,
Collaborate,
collaborate, and communicate. You got to do it without choking each other out and calling each other bad words, which you can do that behind closed doors.
Take all the
Tracy
fun out of
agreed.
it.
She's sleeping.
I
on
do,
the
right?
floor.
Okay, so in our last couple of minutes, are there any more questions for myself and Deb? And we're going to make it quick. Yes.
Really quickly, for yourself and Deb, if you had 2 questions, if you were the national PTA president right now, and you were looking for candidates, and you were all of it, national PTA president, nominating chair, election chair, all of that in one right now, and there was 2 questions that you would always refer back to if you were looking for a specific candidate, what would those 2 questions be? You would refer to this in any aspect. At conventions, you would look at these particular candidates and ask yourself, like in PTA, one of the questions we always ask ourselves is, why?
That's what I was going to say. Why you and why PTA? Those are always going to be my 2 that I go back to. Why you? Why is it you? Why are you the person I've been waiting for my whole life? And why PTA? Why is this the tool in the vessel that you use? What is it about PTA that you believe in? Those would be my 2 questions. But the other ones are great too, but we can't share those with you yet.
Why is important? I'm going to answer that from a slightly different level. Having just gone through an interview process trying to find a national service representative when we had an amazing group of individuals apply.
Why didn't we apply for that?
And how do you differentiate?
Why didn't we apply for that? I'm just saying. I'm just,
A lot of people did.
I'm just teasing. I'm good.
And one of the most interesting questions I found, because you're expecting to be able to talk about yourself positively on an interview, and I asked people what was the biggest mistake they'd ever made. And I got a lot of, like, oh my God, she asked me that question.
Yeah.
Because the second part of that question was, and tell me how you overcame it and what you learned from it. And you have to share that you did something wrong.
Right.
And if the answer that I did something wrong made me look good, because people have a way of sort of bragging even when they made mistakes, that's telltale all by itself. But having somebody say, man, I really blew this. I mean, it went, and I realized that I was at fault and I should have handled it differently, but you know what, I've never gone back. I went back to the person, I did the since then I've done this and this and this, and you realize somebody's got the ability to learn.
That's right.
And to grow, and realize that they have the ability to make mistakes.
That was one of ours.
And
Was that one of
I
yours?
found that one of the most interesting questions I asked in the interview process, probably through every single person I asked for a loop. So I throw that out there as one of the ones that I think helped me get to know the people I was talking to on the phone.
All right. So before we go, question?
I have two questions. One is, we can reach out to Julie at any time, parliamentarian, am I correct, if we have any type of constructional questions that are related to order or business, or no, or is that out of the scope?
Let me check on that, and I don't know if it has to go through the chair.
Okay.
Because
And probably, yeah, we definitely through the chair, but I was just wondering.
Right.
I mean, as a group, not individually, but as a group.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Absolutely. If you have a question about parliamentary procedure,
Yes.
how you move
Sure.
forward, explain it about clarity, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would not.
And my other question is, Cindy is the election chair. After today's meeting, can we also, through the chair, advise through her, ask a question, or no? Right?
Absolutely.
Can we?
As long as you don't tell me any content about what you're talking about, when you're learning processes and you have questions about processes, and absolutely you can, because we have to collaborate and work together to get through, to get to the next part. As long as you don't tell me.
PTA, the chair of the NLRC and the chair of the election committee do talk to each other. They
Absolutely.
share their private internal workings of what their rules and regulations are going to be and how their decisions are being made.
Okay.
But as far as how to get the process to flow more freely and how, there's definitely cooperation.
Right. Sure. So here's what I need. I need everybody to raise your right hand. Oh, Deb, you raise your right hand. I'm raising mine too. All right. Here's what I want you to repeat after me. I promise.
I promise
to do my best.
to do my best
To leave it all on the table.
to leave it all on the table.
To be honest.
To be honest,
Forthcoming.
forthcoming,
True.
true,
Punctual.
punctual,
And keep my mouth shut.
and keep my mouth shut.
Outside of this room. So,
So,
what I mean is,
what I mean is,
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
Go team.